Hello everyone, welcome back again. My name is Jesse, and in this wonderful session, we'll be trying to see how to build a very nice app with Streamlit using the new feature for the file uploader, right? Very, very interesting. So we'll be trying to build a semi-automated ML app. So let's see what we're building. So in case I drop a file here, or I can browse files here. So let's use something different. We can use the famous iris dataset, or we can use any dataset. So let's use the famous iris dataset. We're going to upload it. Then we can just check for the shape of it. These are some basic ED aspects. You can check for the column, the various column, right? We can also check for the summary for our data set. Very interesting. You can also select some columns to see how it is, which are very simple basic stuff you can do, which if you have been watching the tutorials, you may have come across some of them. Very interesting. So these are something very basic, right? We can do, right? So that is one way. You can also do the normal value count for this particular data set that you have. And then you can also do the normal correlation plot. And then there are several things you can also do. The power is in your hands, right? And then you can also do a simple pie plot using the species column. So this is going to give you the option of selecting a particular column you want to use as your pie plot. So let's use the species. Then it's going to give us a different plot, right? For using the species as the thing that is using to group by, right? Very, very interesting. This is for one data set. So let's choose a different data set. So I can either browse here, or I can just go to my data set option, which is here, and let's paste in any data set. So you can just put in, let's say, the PIMA data set. I just copy that one here, right? And then I can also drag it here. So it's not just only browsing, but you can also drag data set. Very interesting. Then I can also see that everything is working perfectly, right? These are not having column headers, so we can also see everything we are doing perfectly. Now that is something very basic. Now let's move on to some other stuff. So I can just go back and pick another data set. So let's still go back to something, let's say the US arrest data set, which is referring to okay, this one, that is the US arrest data set. Then I can also see it in a different way. It's automatically going to pick the data set and analyze it for us. So these are the data sets, right, that we have. Very, very interesting. You can even select the plot. We are using meta now, but let's change to state. Hopefully it's going to work, and then it's going to analyze it based on the state for us. Hopefully it doesn't give us errors, right? Wow. This is the data set based on the state. Very, very interesting. That is something very cool and something very interesting. Now let's move on to the next session. So if I go to the sidebar, I can select not only the EDA, but I can also do for the plot, different types of plots that we can do. And then by default, it's going to keep the data set that we uploaded in memory, right? So this is the data visualization aspect, and it's keeping it in memory. So this is a value count, and then we can also do some other plots like the area plot. Then I can choose different columns that I want to work on. So let's say I want to choose, maybe I want to check on assault, and then I want to plot, let's say, murder, right? So if I click on generate plot, it's going to be using area plot to give us a very nice plot, right? This is quite interesting, right? We can zoom in, zoom up. You can also change the plot from area to, let's say, bar plot, and then I can click on generate plot. Then it's going to generate the plot for us, right? Very, very interesting, very nice. Wow. Streamlit has given us the power to do so many things. Now that is one aspect, right? We can do a lot of things. Now let's go to the next session, which is going to be model building, right? So we can actually build a model from it. So let's change this dataset because we have some state and all of these things. We need to be able to make sure that we have a dataset that we can actually build models from. So this is how it's going to be. I hope it doesn't give us any error. It may give us an error, but let's try. If it doesn't give us an error, we'll try a different dataset, right? This is still beta. So it's analyzing it. It's going to use a different models that's supplied by logistic regression, LD, all of this, and so that's why it's giving us these errors. Let's change the dataset. So we'll be using the famous iris dataset or any prepared dataset. That is why it is a semi-automated. So you prepare the dataset, you upload, then it analyzes it. So this is going to be the dataset that we have. Then it's going to give us our metrics based on as a table, right? Very interesting. So these are the models and the accuracies based on the particular algorithm we are using: logistic regression, LD, KNN, CAT, naive Bayes, SVM, right? This is going to give us the various prediction accuracy, and then we can also do it as JSON format, right? In case you don't want it as a table, you also want it as a JSON format. We're going to analyze and then give it to us in the format of a JSON. Very interesting, right? For regression, their model accuracy, and then the standard deviation for all of them. Then you can also save your model, right? So it can just put your data set, then it's going to give you the option of saving your data set, your model, right? The accuracy very in this particular document. Okay, so and then you can also download it later on. You can. So let's see how to build this up from scratch, right? So we started from scratch. So let's position everything well. All right, so now the most important thing that we need is that we need to set up our own virtual environment. This the one we are building now. We are using version 0.52, right? 5.2.1 to build. So we have to create a virtual environment because this is just a preview release. So just create an virtual environment. I've already created one already. So let's do another one. So I'm going to make a directory, and let's call it as, let's say, semi auto ml app, right? Auto ml app, ml. That's the name of the and now cd into it, right? This is where we're building our stuff. So what you need to do is that you have to install Streamlit. So pip install, then we need to install Streamlit, right? The version of Streamlit you are installing is we are installing version 0.552.1, right? That is a version of Streamlit that you are installing. Then you also need to install pandas. You need to install matplotlib. You need to install Seaborn. These are all for the virtualization. Then NumPy, right? So any particular stuff you need to build your app, you just install them with this particular option. That's what to be building. And then also need to install scikit-learn. Let me expand it so that you can see it very well. So it's going to be scikit-learn, right? Scikit-learn, right? These are the basic packages that you'll be using, but you should make sure that this one is set to 0.521, right? Otherwise it's not going to work. It's going to give you some errors, backcache error, right? So that is how to do that. But we're working inside a virtual environment, so that is how to work with it. So in case you are working inside a virtual environment using pip env, it's going to be pip env, right? Then it take off this, right? That is how to work with it, right? In case you are working within a virtual environment. Now let's see how to start from scratch. Okay, perfect. So there is nothing here. So first of all, I'm going to create my first file. It's going to be app.py. That is what it's going to be. Then I'm going to create another. I'm not going to create anything. So this is going to be the main app here, right? So we'll be using app.py file. So we'll be running it from our virtual environment. I've already activated my virtual environment here, which is this place, right? And it's already having our pip file and our pip log file. So we're moving into this particular folder and then we run it. So it's going to be cd into my semi-automated, right? So in case you want to know how to activate your environment, you just go with this option of pip env shell, right? That is in case you are using pip env. Perfect. So away with all this setup stuff. Now let's start building our app. So if I check here, we have only our app there, right? So I'm just going to run it as pip env run, then Streamlit run, then the name of my app. That is how to run it within our virtual environment. So let's start building something before we run it. So this is where we're running all our app, right? This is where we're running. There's nothing here. And then let's start. So we have to take out this, and then we start everything from scratch. So first of all, let's see what we're doing. So it's going to be like this. So it's going to be importing our main package. So import, don't know that I can see it well. Import Streamlit as st. This is going to be our core packages. Then we need to import our EDA packages, right? So this is going to be our EDA packages. Then we also need our ML packages, right? So these are the main packages that we're using. So our core package is going to be this one. It's going to be our core packages, right? So these are the main things that we'll be using, right, for our core packages. Now let's import our EDA packages. So it's going to be import pandas as pd, right? And then the next thing we need to do is to also import NumPy in case you'll be using some conversion. So NumPy as np. Very interesting. Then let's import our data visualization packages. So we're using matplotlib, so it's going to be import matplotlib.pyplot as plt. Then we also need to import matplotlib or lib. Then we use matplotlib, so matplotlib.use agg, right, to help us with our plots. Very interesting. So the next thing is that we need to import our machine learning packages. So let's build our structure first, then later on we import our machine learning packages. So we're just going to go with def for the main, right? It's just going to be something very basic. And then here we're going to put in our description for the app, which is going to be a semi auto ML app with Streamlit, right? Streamlit is so cool, very interesting. That is the basic stuff. And then now we need to go with something very the title. So title, and I'll pass in semi auto ML app, right? Very interesting. Then st.test. So using Streamlit, we are using Streamlit version 0.52.1 in apples, right? That's what you're using, the drag and drop feature. Perfect. So that's something very basic. Now let's close it. So everything we'll be doing will be going in between here, right? In between our main function, then we'll be running our main function here. That is something very basic. Now let's run this app and see what you've done so far. So to run it, I just come back to my virtual environment. This is my virtual environment, st.labs. Then you can just run it, pip env run Streamlit run app. In case you are not using a virtual environment, you can just go straight away with Streamlit run app, right? But I'm using virtual environment because the version we are using is a pre-release version. So it's going to run it. Then whilst it's running, let's do some other stuff. So first of all, we're going to build our activities. It's going to be our activities. It's the main stuff we'll be doing. So I'm going to give it a simple EDA activity, then another one for plot, then another one for our model, right? Model building. So this is going to be our main activities to be doing. Then we need to set a choice, which is going to be st.sidebar.select box. Then I'll pass in my select activity. Then I'll pass in the activities, right? So activities. Perfect. So we have been able to do something very basic with what you have done so far, right? Perfect. So this is going to be our choice, and then we can just select our choice. So if my choice is equal to EDA, then I want you to st.subheader my EDA, right? So exploratory data analysis, right? Something very basic. So this is going to be something that you'll be doing. Then the next thing we need to do is that to do another same thing for the rest. So this is going to be for the first one, for the first choice, the second choice, then the third choice. Then let's add an about to it, right? So be adding an about to it. It's going to be about, right? It's going to be for our about. I don't know whether my audio is okay. Perfect. So this is going to be for our EDA, this is going to be for our plot, this is going to be, so use else if, so else if, then the same thing for this, right? So else if, then this is going to be not for the, it's going to be for model building aspect, then the final one is going to be our about, right? So that we have different sessions. So I'll change this one to data visualization. It's going to be data visualization, and then this is going to be for our last option, which is going to be our model building. So building ML models. So in case you have not subscribed to this channel, you can also subscribe to this channel and check the link below for some interesting materials to enable you to master machine learning and then Python, right? There's a whole course on building machine learning web applications that you can also check about. Perfect. So we are done with this. So now let's come back to what you've done so far. So just opening it already on port 0.2 because the previous one is still running. Then I'm going to paste it here. So it's running it perfectly, and then we can see what you have done so far. Perfect, right? So it's running. Hopefully it's not giving us any error. So let's go with always run. Perfect, right? So everything is working as expected. So let's open it again, and then let's run it again. Let's run it. Perfect, right? So everything is working as expected. Now you see that we have our exploratory data analysis. If I come to this place, then I select the particular plot, right? So I can select the particular option. So you have our plot data visualization. If I go to model building, it's going to change model building. Everything is working as expected. How about it's working as expected? Now let's move on to the first aspect, of the ED, right? Perfect. So everything is working as expected. So sometimes when you realize that in the previous one when we were running, this one was not showing well, right? So one of the ways of solving it is to just run it on point zero 1, right? Not this 2 but 1, right? Very interesting. Or to restart it again. So I restarted it and it's giving us very nice stuff. Okay, perfect. So that issue has been solved. Now let's see some other stuff you'll be doing. So how do we bring the drag and drop to it? So it's very, very simple to do that. So first of all, let's create another stuff for the drag and drop, right? So I'm just going to bring it up here. We're doing our drag and drop here. Very interesting. So I'm going to set it as data. Then I'll pass in my st.file. Very interesting. Uploader. Wow, this feature has been long awaited. And let's go as upload our data set, right? And then here we're going to take in the type. So the type is going to be the different types that you want, which is very, very wise and very, very interesting to make it more secure. So I'm going to only collect CSV files, which is another type. Then I'm going to collect maybe SL, but let's go with TST, right? That is the basic idea, right? You're not going to select images, you're not going to select any other stuff. These are the two stuff. You can also add SL to it, SLS, but let's use these two, right? Perfect. That's the basic idea, so that we can use the limiter for this one, and then we can use the normal CSV. Very interesting. So we are done with our file loader, right? So it's going to load and create it for us. So if I save it and I come back here, so that now let's always run, you're going to see that it's going to show the file loader. Very, very interesting. This simple code has brought about all of these things there, but whatever we be placing here will be saved, but we cannot use it, right? So everything is there. So let's select something like livestock, and then let's paste it there. It's uploading the data set. It is there, right? But we are not showing it. So let's see how to use that data set there. So to use it, we're just going to go with if our data is not none, right? That is if it's not empty, because without that it's going to give us an error, right? So let's go with df within pandas to read it. So pd.read underscore csv, then I'll pass in my data, right? cs, which is going to be our data that we have, this particular file here, right? We are passing it there. Perfect. That's the basic idea. Now we can do whatever we want to do. So let's go with data frame. Then I'll pass in my data frame, which is going to be df.head, right? Something very basic. So I just printed the first head. Now it's going to run. It's at this. Our data set has come. We have our date and our value. Very, very interesting, right? Very cool and very nice. So we are done with how to do that. So we can also do the same thing. I can also drop another data set. So let's drop something like, let's say, breast cancer CV. I'm going to drop it there. So let's drop it here. You can also drop it here, right? Very interesting. And so it automatically going to identify the data set and give us all the various stuff there. Wow, very cool, right? Perfect. So that is what you have done so far for the ED, and now you have to do our ED analysis. Very, very interesting. So the basic idea is that you are just going to use the st.file loader. Then you're going to give it a description, which is referring to the description here, right? Then the type, which is very, very important. So the type is going to be, it can be CSV, it can be text, it can be images, it can be as many as you want. Very, very interesting. You can check the documentation for more. Now let's do some basic stuff. So if st.checkbox, using checkbox for now, it's called to, let's say, show shape, then we're using the normal basic EDA stuff, right? So it's going to be st.write, then df.shape, right? That is the basic stuff. Then you can also do another one for not only the shape, you can do for the columns. So I'll paste it here. So we have one for showing the shape, one for showing the columns, or the columns want to show our summary, and then let's say want to show, let's say, columns in which you can select, right? So let's do something very basic. Let's call that show value counts, right? So these are the basic stuff there. Now from here I can just go to showing the summary with this option, describe, right? This is how to show the summary. Then for the columns, we can put all the columns together as, let's say, an array, right? So, or a list. So columns, all columns is going to be st.columns to list, right? You are sending them to list so we can use it over and over again. So this is supposed to be small c, right? And now I can put in all the columns here. So let's call this all columns. Very interesting. So it's going to run it. Now everything is working. So I can show the shape. Perfect. I can show the columns. It's going to give us a list. Very interesting. Then I can also show the summary. Very, very interesting. And then the final one that you have to also work on the value count. So by default, let's use the last ending for our value count, which is going to be very simple. So I can just use the iLock, right? Using iLock, then I'm going to pick the last data set, because in most supervised learning, the last column is usually the target, right? So using that one to do our value count. So let's save it and then let's see. So if I click on the value count now, it's going to show me perfect, right? We have the classes malignant and then benign. Very, very interesting. Now let's do some other stuff you can do. Some about the columns, how to select different columns to show. So let's paste it here. Another is going to be if I said if st.checkbox. Let's go select columns to show, right? Columns to show, in case you want to show some columns. This is an if condition, so we have to end it with this. Then now I can bring the selected columns. So let's go selected columns, right? Selected columns, then st.multi select. Then I'll pass in my select columns to show, right? Something very, or select columns, something very basic. Then I will pass in the all columns option. So if I save it now, it's going to show that particular option of the select column to show. It's going to give us the multi-select option. So Streamlit has no multi, see the spelling, multi-select. So it's going to work perfectly well, right? So we can have several of them. All of these things can be there, and then you can see it, right? So we have to show it. So how do we show this particular stuff? So let me expand it. So to show it, you can just create a new data frame. So new df, then I can just pass in my df, pass in my selected columns. That is it. Then I can just st.dataframe, and I can just put in my new data frame. Something very basic. So we are done with our EDA aspect, right? Everything is working as expected. Perfect. So now let's move on to the next session of trying to build not only the EDA but also to work on the plot option, right? So I'm just going to go to the plot, which has nothing here. So we'll be going to our plot session, which is referring to our data visualization. Now I'll be doing the same thing. So we can actually copy the same thing here, this drag and drop option, which is this one, and use the same option. Sorry. Then we can just paste it here, right? So that we have our data there. So if I come back and I go back to now, our drag and drop is there, right? You can bring it there so that the person can also change it. So we have a different feature for only the plot. Very interesting. Perfect. So let's add some interesting plot here. So we can add a correlation here in case you want. So it's going to be if st.checkbox. Then I'm going to add a correlation. Let's call it as the normal correlation with Seaborn. So correlation with Seaborn, right? Because of time, you'll just be picking one of them. Then it's going to be very simple. So it's going to be st.right. We are putting everything SNS for the Seaborn, then hit map. Then I'll pass in my data correlation, data pandas function. Then I'm going to set the annotation to be true, right? So annotate, let's go to true. That is all, right? With this, and then the next thing we need is the st.plot. So st.py plot. Perfect. So if I save it now, we can see our correlation plot there. So if I go with correlation with Seaborn, we can see it here. So SNS is not defined, so we have to come back to here, then add that SNS to it. So it's going to be import Seaborn as SNS, and then we can see it working perfectly. Voila, right? So it's working as expected. So SNS is showing it. It's going to show us our plot in a very nice format. So the next option is for us to work on. So that, wow, very interesting, right? The next option is for us to work on the other aspect of different columns, right? So in case I also want to do for maybe let's say pie chart, I can also do the same thing. So let's copy this one because it's going to be the same thing. So I'll copy this here, then we can place it here, right? So this is going to be not for correlation, but this is going to be for pie chart, right? In a pie chart, then there are several ways you can do it. For the pie chart, we can make it quite easier by not using the normal long format, but let's use this particular option. So we already had our columns, so you can just go with columns to plot, right? For the pie chart, then I'll go with st.select select boss. Now pass in the select. Let me expand it so that you can see it very well. So select columns to select columns, right? The column that you want to plot, or let's say select only one column to plot. Then I'm going to pass in my all columns. So you have to create this all column because this is a totally different section. So let's call it all columns. Then I'll paste it. I'll paste the other one there because it's almost the same thing here, which is this, right? So that we don't repeat ourselves over and over again. Right? Perfect. Now we can select different columns. Then I can just do my normal pie plot, which is going to be our data frame. Then I'll pass in my columns to plot. Then I'll use value count to help us. So value, so dot value count. Then I can just move on to the pie plot, right? We can add a pie plot to it, which is going to be our normal plot dot pie. Then I can put in my auto percentage, which is going to be this option. Perfect, right? So this is the auto percentage. Now we can actually plot our chart. So dot right, then our pie plot. Then the final one we can just go with st dot pie plot, right? So let's save this one and let's see what we have done so far. So it's going to run all of them for us, giving us the option of showing the pie chart that we want to show. And then I can go with the pie chart. Then I can select the particular column I want to use, right? So we are not going to use the ID. Let's use a class to do the pie chart. Then it's going to give us the chart, right, in a very nice format for us. So it's analyzing it and going to give it to us. Perfect. So in case you have not subscribed, you can also subscribe and then check the link below for some interesting stuff. By the way, Merry Christmas to everyone. So this is a class, very, very interesting plot, right? So we have been able to do some data visualization. Let's add some last stuff to it. Then we move on to the model building, right? So I'll copy those code there to save us time so that we move on to the model building aspect. Perfect. So I've copied it and pasted it here, right? So this is going to be the one that we have. So simple explanation is that we're just going to create a list of all the columns. Then we're going to create another list of the different types of plots that you want. You have area plot, you have bar plot, line plot, histogram, boss. Then I'm going to create another multi-select option to select the previous options. Then we created a button to help us with the plot, the kind of to give us information about when you click on this button is going to do our plot. So if the person select area, I want you to choose area, right? If a person select bar, I want you to choose bar. Then do the plot. So we have area charts which comes with Streamlit. We have bar chart, we have line chart, we have the normal custom pie plot. So let's see how it works. So if I come back to this place, so I can select something like, let's say, line plot. Then I can choose the various stuff I want to do a line plot of. So I can just click on the generate plot, which is this particular button here, right? So we can use that one to generate the particular plot. So it's going to pick the one we are supposed to do, which is on our standard. So we have it here. So it's analyzing it, and then it's going to give us our result, right? Very, very interesting, right? Cool. So that is the various aspects for the EDA. And then for the plot, right? Everything is working as expected. So we have our EDA, we have our plot. Now let's see how to work on the next aspect of the model building. So we're going to the model building. So let's work on that. So I'm just going to copy the same stuff we had here for our file upload, which is this one, to use it for our model building, right? So I'll just come back to this place and paste it here, right? So we have a file upload, right, for the model, right? Perfect. Now let's see how to work on it. So in building a model, we're just going to work on, let's say, model building, right? So what are the things we need? So in most machine learning aspect, which is a supervised machine learning, the last column is the target, right? So we need to create an S and then a Y, right? And then in most cases, the first to the last but one are usually the features. So we'll be using the same thing. So we'll be going with the normal iLog. Then we'll be selecting everything till the last but one, right? So we are selecting everything till the last but one, which is going to be -1, right? So this is going to select everything to the last but one. Then we also need to create one for our labels or our target, which is going to be df.ilog. Then we are selecting everything we are not selecting everything, but we're only selecting the last one, which is going to be -1. Perfect. So we have been able to work on that. So we have this one. So select all the various columns that we have, all the various columns except our class, right? So this is what we are trying to predict. So that is why we are using the last but one for this, and then everything except the last but one for the features, right? Very, very interesting. Okay, perfect. Now let's build our model. So we are going to set a seed. You can change the seed in case you want. So let's go with seed. It's equal to 7, right? You can change it. You can also create a button to help you with the seed, right? In case you want. Then now let's move on to the models. So this is going to be our models. So we're going to create a list. So model, a list of all our models. It's going to be empty. Then also going to create another one for the various models, right? So let's come back to the top of our file and then import our machine learning packages. So we're using sklearn to do that. So I'll paste them here to save us time. So these are going to be our ML packages that we are going to be using. So we have model selection to help us with our model selection. We have logistic regression. We have decision tree. We have KNN for KNN. We have linear discrimination analysis. We have Gaussian from naive Bayes and SVC, right? From SVM. So these are the models we'll be using. You can add as many as you want, right? The limit is your own, the one that you set. Perfect. So we have our models. Now let's move on and build it. So it's going to be our models dot append. I'm going to be appending our logistic regression. So LR for logistic regression. And I'm going to pass in our logistic regression. So logistic regression, I'll initialize it. Perfect. That's going to be the first one. Then do another one for the another model. So append. What are we appending? LDA for linear discrimination analysis, which is going to be linear discrimination analysis. Initialize it. Perfect. Right. So that is what we'll be doing. Then also going to do another one for models dot append. See what I did. Models dot append. Then this is going to be for KNN. Then you pass in our KNN, right? This is going to be KNN. Initialize it. Perfect. So you can add several models as you wish, right? So let's add the rest. Alright, so we'll be adding the rest, but let's make some corrections here. So this must be inside another tuple, right? So that it becomes better. Because so you see it better. Right, so we have closed it well. Then now let's add some other models to it. Sorry. So these are going to be the other models we added. So we have these models, right? You can add many as you wish. Now we need to be able to build a workflow or a condition in which it's going to iterate through all the models and then build it for us and give us a result. So let's first of all create a list. We are going to be creating some individual list. It's going to be, let's say, our model names. It's going to be an empty list. Then also going to create another one for, let's say, model mean, to get our mean, all our mean together in a list. This is going to help us with our table building. Then also need to get mostly model standard deviation. Then I'm going to pass in the value, right? Perfect. So let's create another one for all the models, and then something very basic. Okay, so let's set the scoring to be accuracy. You're using accuracy score for that. Perfect. Now we are done with our list that I've created, an empty list. Now let's go with for name, right, in our model. Right, for name in our model, right, in our models rather. So we are taking every name. These are the names, right? You are taking them. So let's not only just take the name, but let's also take the particular model. So for name and model in our models, which is this model that we have here, we're going to loop through it. Then we're going to use kfold. Then we're using model selection. So model selection using cross validation, right? Or kfold first before you use cross validation. Dot kfold. It's going to be kfold. Kfold. Then I'm going to pass in the number of splits. So you can even add some interesting aspect to this using the normal st.number input to help you with the split. So the number of splits is going to be 10. We are doing 10 splits. 10 folds. That's what it means. Then I'm going to use a random state of the particular seed that you have set. It's going to be seed, right? Perfect. So we have been able to create a simple fold. So this is going to be the fold we're using. Then we're going to go with our cross validation result, which is going to be our model selection. Then we'll be using the cross val score. So cross val score, right? Cross validation score. Then we pass in our model. Then we pass in our S and then our Y. Then we're going to pass in the number of folds we want to use. So CV for the count for the key fold, right above. Then we're going to give the scoring. So what is going to be the scoring that we'll be using? So we'll be using the scoring. It's going to be our scoring, which is going to be for accuracy, right? So we have been able to get our qual validation score and their result. So let's move on to do some other stuff. Model, then going to go with names.append. We are appending all the names that you are getting at the time. Then also we are going to also append our mean to it. So we are getting our mean to, also appending our mean to it, which is going to be our count, our CV.result.mean. So we are getting the mean of the accuracies, right? Then another one for the model.std standard deviation. No student. CV result.std. Perfect. So we have been able to get a very nice list of all of these things there, right? Everything is working as expected. Now let's build a simple dictionary to help us see our result. So let's go to accuracy result. Then I'm going to pass in these values, right? So it's going to be our model name. So our model name is going to be equal to name. Then our model accuracy is going to be our, can use the CV result.mean, right, the one that we had, or you can even use the ones that we have above, right? But let's make it like this option. Then finally we're going to go with the next one, which is going to be our standard deviation. So standard deviation, which is going to go with our CV results.std. Perfect, right? All of this is for the machine learning aspect. There are several ways you can do that, but we are using this one so that at least we get some other ones we can use, right? Perfect. So that is the basic idea. So what we are doing is that we have created a dictionary for the name, for the accuracy, for the standard deviation, and then I'm going to append that one to our all models, and then we use this one to print it out. So I'm just going to come back here. Then let's go to all our models.append, appending our accuracy results to it. Right, there are several ways you can do that. Perfect. So we have done it in a very nice format. Now let's do our plot. So let's go with if st.checkbox is equal to, let's say, metrics as table. Then we're going to work on it as a table. So how do we do that? So we're using st.dataframe. Then I'm going to pass it using pandas data frame. Then how do we create it? So we're using zip. Then in zip, I'll pass in our model name. Then I also pass in our model standard deviation, or let's go with model mean first, then model standard deviation, right? These are the basic stuff we have now. So if I save it now, and then let's see what you have done so far. Let's come back here. Hopefully it's not going to give us any errors. So key argument end split. So we made a mistake with the end split. Let's correct it. Let's correct it. End split. There's no mistake there, right? So let's run it again. Hopefully it's going to work. Okay, perfect. So it's working. Now let's check the metrics as a table. Perfect. So that's been able to give it to us in a very simple, funny way. So let's see how to correct this one. So it was able to give it to us, but it's giving it to us in a very simple, funny way because of how the dataset is like. Let's change the dataset and see whether it's going to work. Before we move on to, let's use iris. Iris is always the basics. So hopefully it works for the iris without giving us any errors. Perfect, right? That means that there's something wrong with that dataset. So we have been able to get it, but you have to make sure that the user knows what these ones mean. So let's create a simple column header for the column name. We're creating a simple column header. So this is going to be here. Call it as columns. Then I'm going to pass in as, let's say the first one is going to be the model name. Then the next one is going to be our model accuracy. Then the last one is going to be standard deviation, right? STD, standard deviation. Let's go with this option. So let's save it and see what you have done so far. Now it's going to give us in a very nice format. So we have our name, our accuracy, and then the standard deviation here, right? Perfect. Everything is working as expected. Very nice. Now let's make it better. Correcting this one. D, and then wow, this is so long. We have taken so much time on this. It's like a full work we are doing. Wonderful. Okay, so that's some of the things we have done so far. Now we have gotten it as a table. Now let's work on it as JSON, right? So we're using if st.checkbox. I'm going to pass in our metrics as JSON. Right, so you're going to get like in the format of like a JSON, which is different format than that. Then we're going to pass in st.json. Then I'll pass in all our models, right? That is all that we need. So let's click on it. And now everything is working as expected. Perfect. So if I go with metrics as JSON, it's going to work perfectly for us in a very nice format. Hopefully it doesn't give us a wow. So we have been able to work on it. So the basic idea is that first of all, you're just going to import your machine learning packages, right? And then you're going to import your data visualization packages, Matplotlib and Seaborn. Then you're also going to work on your EDA packages. We do not even use NumPy. And then also the core package, which is Streamlit. Very interesting. Then we're going to create a main function in which you're going to place in all our code. Then we created a simple activities to help us with our sidebar. This particular sidebar that we have. We have model building, we have EDA plot, and then we can work on our about, which is something simple. Then we created a simple choice to select it, which is this particular option. Then we can now choose the EDA. So for the plot or for the drag and drop, right, the basic stuff you need to do is that you just have to go with st file loader. Then this is going to be a description, what you want the person to do. Then a type, this is where you change the different types. Then you go with if data is not none, so that it doesn't crash, right? Then you store your data in and you do whatever processing you want to do. In case it is images, in case you want to use st.image, you can use all of them here. Then we just did the basic EDA stuff. Let's even put this plot here, so you can even shift this plot from here to here, right? So that at least it looks like the first one we built, right? Perfect. So that if I come back to my EDA, I can also see my plot here, right? Everything is working. Then we can, when it comes to the plot option, we can also do something very basic. We also do the same thing. Then we just created a simple multi-select, select the different columns, then we choose the different plots, right? Then for the model building, we did the same thing, but we made sure that we specify the S and the Y. Then we created a dictionary or a list of all the models, another list of the models, the mean, the standard deviation. Then we loop through them using k-fold, using a for loop with k-fold and then with cross-val score. Then later on we brought it in the format of a table using zip and then pandas data frame, and then also for the model. So thank you for watching this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching. In case you have not subscribed to this channel, you can also subscribe and check the links below for some interesting materials, some interesting courses to help you master machine learning and Python. Thank you, and then see you in the next session. Stay blessed.